What's up, guys? Derek here. We finally are starting to get a ton of parts to roll in here. Just this week, we've gotten probably 5 to 10 new parts to help everything come together. We've got the supercharger set up. We got a whole bunch of fuel system stuff from Fuel Labs. They're partnering up with us this year. They sent us a whole bunch of goods. They do all kinds of stuff for gas engines as well as diesel. So definitely check them out. They've got a lot of good stuff. And they sent me a lot of good stuff as well, so I'm super excited to show it to you guys. We are currently doing some rearranging in the garage. Today is the day that it is, -5 this morning. It was a high of like 2 degrees, so we did some tarping off for half the shop and got the heater going, and you can see my breath a little bit too. It's pretty cold. But I want to show you guys some of the stuff that we got, do a little bit of kind of sort of unboxing video just so you guys can see what's going on, what's going to go into the car, and see how awesome some of the stuff that's going in here, but it's still going to be super basic at the end of the day. All right, so we'll start off at the end of the table. This is an LSA blower. Comes out of just a basic supercharger out of a Cadillac CTS-V from 2010 with the LS3s. It's just basic. I'll be putting a little bit different of a pulley on there to make it to where it'll work with my GTO engine, because they've got a little bit different of an accessory drive setup. And just the only company that makes the conversion, Olson Custom Works, runs a smaller pulley in it. Yeah, this is a little bent and broken, but the guy bought it off of, gave me an extra one, so we're in pretty good shape. We've got a map sensor off of like the Cobalt SS's. It's a 2.5 bar. Since I have the older PCM, I'm told that it will not read the 3 bars that most CTS-Vs come with. I have a couple other sensors in the mail. Like this is just reads into atmosphere for some reason. This is your intake air temp sensor, and then your map sensor going into there. And then a lot of people just plate these or tap them or whatever you do. I'll have to run a spacer to my throttle body or get a different throttle body or something like that. I've got Fuel Injector Clinic 850cc injectors. I'm hoping with a slightly smaller pulley, we'll make at least 550. I'd love to see more, but I also want my engine to stay one piece because it's not anything fancy. It's just a stock 5.7 that's been beat on for 2 years. We were required to run a oil catch can, so I got this super cheap oil catch can. One of the cheapest ones I could find because I wanted to stay as close to a quart as possible, and I wanted it to be small and streamlined. That's right at a quart because that's what FD requires. But everything that I found was like big and boxy, so I wanted to stay away from that. These are cylinder head adapters. So since I'm on an older LS engine, not a Gen 4, I have cathedral ports. So like the ports on the intake, or the intake ports on the heads look like cathedrals. So this lays down flat on the heads and converts to a square port, because the square port is what is on the LSA blower, so you have to have that. Otherwise, you have all kinds of sealing problems and it just wouldn't work. FD requires you to run a drive shaft loop. So this is a basic JEGS drive shaft loop. I think I paid $25.99 for it. Actually, it looks identical to the one that's on Adam LZ's car. What it does is it goes around the drive shaft. That way, if there's any potential failures with a U-joint or whatever, or a yoke, then your drive shaft doesn't get A, thrown out of the car, or B, screw up all kinds of other crap, or go flying out of the car. So this goes around the front section of the drive shaft and keeps it from going anywhere if bad failures happen. On to the Fuel Lab stuff. So if you are a 350Z guy or a stock S chassis guy and you start to run low on fuel, you're familiar with fuel slosh and running out of fuel mid-run and your car dying in the middle of the run. And I've actually lost 2 battles because of it, because we forget to put fuel in the car. So Fuel Lab hooked me up with this awesome fuel surge tank. It allows you to maintain the factory tank without having to pay $2,000 for a good fuel cell with good baffling and everything like that with a surge tank built into it. So this actually has twin fuel pumps in it, so you can use your twin fuel pumps to allow you to have or make better power with smaller pumps. But in my case, I'm just going to wire up pump 1 and pump 2 separately. And if I have a fuel pump failure, or if I have a weird failure, I can use it to diagnose, oh, I might have a fuel issue. So I can change over to pump 2,
or if I do potentially have a fuel pump failure, I can just switch over and not have to spend a bunch of time changing out a fuel pump. Another thing that's awesome about that is the stock pump feeds up into here from the stock tank, and it fills that up and then it just pulls from there straight out. Fuel Lab hooked me up with this awesome anodized gold fuel filter and this anodized gold fuel pressure regulator. And they've got their own little fuel pressure gauges too, which is pretty sweet. Say Fuel Lab on them. They also gave me these massive brick of stickers. So if you guys want any stickers, hit me up. Also gave me this awesome banner. So cool. Love Shop Decor. And if you guys are interested, got some brochures as well. This here, the ASD handbrake handle. A lot of people have complaints of them breaking. For me, mine wasn't a straight pullback. It was kind of off to the angle. So I had to have mine re-welded, and then it broke again. And this is the second re-weld job, but it's just not straight anymore. It's not good. It's not rigid. So my friend Aaron at Fast Metal Labs is coming up with a new handbrake handle to where it goes away from that. It's a little wider. It's a lot more stiff, and it's one piece rather than, you can see this is just a little slide-in bushing, if you will, welded in. So this is one piece. It's a lot more stout. It's sweet looking. You can customize it however you want, and we're kind of working with it. This was the first one cut out, so it's got a few imperfections, and we're just using it for test fitting, but I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, we're gonna make it to where we're probably gonna make our own custom handbrake as well, similar to the ASD, and probably start mass producing and selling them. But so if you think that's cool, hit me up or hit up Fast Metal Labs, and he can hook you up. And lastly, we got this awesome NRG bucket. The NRG bucket is one of the cheapest on the market. They're now coming up super hard and coming out with all these FIA rated seats. And NFD, you're required to have the halo seat that wraps around your head for whenever you hit the bank or whatever, because accidents happen. So that allows you to get into the safety market and do it right, but on a budget pricing. These I think retail at like $700. So super awesome pricing, super awesome deal. I got some hard fuel line in here to run from the front to the back because I will be running a bigger fuel line. So I've got some 1/2-inch fuel line for feed and 3/8 for return. Right now I'm just running 3/8 feed in return because really no need. But we got a ton of stuff going. It's all going to start going on the cars. We've got a few more things here and there to go in or to come in the mail before I can really put anything in. But I'm super excited. We're able to start tearing stuff down. We're going to get the transmission pulled out. We're going to take it over to my friend Joe Lampy's house. Him and I are going to tear it down and try to get it all fixed up because the dog box situation isn't really working out. One thing I forgot to mention is there's a isolator inside of here that fails often. So a lot of people suggest going to a new solid one, which I have done. And they say you should never reuse them. So I got that too. So we're lining ourselves up for failure or for victory as much as we can. And hopefully we'll be able to get into some competition next year and win some battles. We've got all the livery off this side right here. We're going to do a little bit of repairs, make it look a little bit prettier, get a new front bumper, and get a new paint job and a new livery on her. So excited for you guys to see that too. We're going to do some videoing of putting the supercharger on and stuff like that as much as I can between working on stuff because I do have to work on my own car, unfortunately. But yeah, just keep watching and see what happens.
All right, guys, it is Friday night, 2 days before we are headed out to the River Road to bash some street cars and drift cars all over the place and just have a good time with each other. Tonight's the night I decided I'm actually going to drive the car. I was going to disassemble it, throw the supercharger on and everything like that before FD and try to get everything situated, get my transmission pulled for rebuild. But my friends are very persuasive and talked me into driving my car, which won't be regretted because it's obviously going to be a blast. If you've ever mobbed the streets in your drift car with a bunch of your friends with their drift cars, it's a lot of fun. So tonight, tomorrow, whatever, I will be pulling the subframe on the white car behind me and pulling the subframe on the blue car as well and swapping them out because on the blue car, it's got my old worn out, I won't say worn out, but my older suspension arms. It's got
My regular knuckles, if you look real closely, you can see there's like 2-inch wheel gap now because I moved my drop knuckles, all the brand new arms, all the good bushings, good subframe, everything like that over to the new car, which we are no longer using. So we're gonna pull the subframe out of that, pull the exhaust off this because obviously that's in the way, yank the drive shaft, drop the subframe, move it over to this car, get this car for sale so we can fund the rest of the FD season. Put the new subframe in over here. We'll be back to drop knuckles in the rear and all brand new stuff. We'll use some toe plates, throw a quick little alignment on it so we're straight enough to not wear tires just driving down the road, and be able to have a good street sesh with the friends. So yeah, we're gonna try to do a little filming of pulling the subframes down, but I'm by myself, so can't really film and do all this at the same time. So I'll do my best for you guys. Thanks. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get the rotors off here, slide the calipers out of the way and everything, because if not, the first thing that's gonna come crashing down to the ground is going to be the rotor. And with a brand new rotor, we don't wanna be doing that. So get the calipers out of the way. There's no diff in this subframe right now, so that will make things relatively difficult, because generally you put the jack right up here where the diff would be, and you just diff or jack up from the diff, and that's where you would lower it from and everything like that. It's pretty good center balance. That's pretty weighted, so it, you know, keeps everything balanced. We actually had Austin lay under the car and lifted this thing up into place before we put anything on it, and it was pretty simple, pretty lightweight. Coming down is going to be a little bit different of a story. You guys are getting the whole deal. Not only did you guys get to see how to put it in right, but get to know how to take it out too. So if you don't remember, we've got these subframe connectors here. They're gonna have to come down because they are also mounted with the front stud for the subframe. So we'll have to take out these two bolts here and here, and then take off the nut off the stud. Subframe connector will come down, as well as probably the front of the subframe. We also have this back subframe bolt right there. I'll have to take that nut off the stud and do the same thing on both sides and just hope that the whole thing doesn't just come falling down. So we'll probably get a jack and place a jack underneath the rear point where the back of the diff would mount, and just to hold it up into place for now. I have absolutely no plan as to have a good way to let it down nice and slow. So probably put like a piece of wood underneath there all the way across and hope for the best, I guess. All right, so I'm gonna attempt to get these subframe connectors off here. So I'm gonna take these two bolts here off first. They are 14s. I'm gonna try to one arm a breaker bar here. Let's see what happens. See how coordinated I am. All right, so now that those are loosey-goosey, let's get out our trusty DeWalt Impact 3/8. Just a little guy, but she's never let me down. Okay, so I always try to keep all my bolts in one place. As you see, I still have my diff bolts and nuts here. I'll keep them close. That way I know that they're not far whenever time comes to get her going and get the other one back in. So I'm gonna break loose all of the subframe bolts. I know I E-manned them on pretty good whenever I put this all together, so oh boy, I have to get a different angle at her. All right, so that one was on there super tight. So I have to imagine that the other one is going to be just the same. So we're gonna see if we can get this guy off. One wasn't as bad. The last one was a huge pain to get off. All right, so move on to the other side and get this thing down before we know it. So we're gonna see if the old Impact will break these loose without you having to go through first. Battery's kind of dead, so we'll see. Oh yeah. Level 1 stuff's easy. All right.
See if this one's as tight as the other front one. If I can get her on there anyways. Alright. Damn. Yeah, we're getting her. But she is tight. All right, and the next. Oh, all right, we're gonna have to use 2 hands for this one.
Well, I definitely used air putting all of this on and tightened her up with a breaker bar. So this is definitely gonna be fun, but we got everything loose, so and both front subframe connectors are loose. The bolts are out of those. So we're gonna try to see if the DeWalt will do it with just a 17 on all the nuts, and they're all loose, so I don't see why it wouldn't. But we'll see about loosening this thing up and getting her down real quick.
So I've come up with an idea with a piece of plywood on the jack with the control arms here. We'll see how well it works, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Oh yeah, that's not gonna work very well. Well, maybe. It's pretty lightweight, but that board is flexing pretty dang good. We'll see what happens, I guess. Yeah, if it breaks, it breaks. Well, let's get these bolts loose. I know there's not a lot of light. I left my light on the other side, but here is the nut we're gonna be taking off. It's kind of in the way, it's kind of cockeyed, but we'll see if we can get to it. Oh, she's a winner. All right, on to the next. Oh yeah, got the nut off to the side. Subframe connector down. We'll just put the nut right in where it belongs. And let's move over to the other side. All right, let's get her finished up here. A little more of an awkward angle. Yep, there goes shitty. All right. Okay. So, get the light out of the way here. See what we can make happen with lowering the jack. I have a weird feeling because it's kind of a pain in the butt to get on that it's not even going to come down at all, and I'm going to have to pry it off. Yeah, she ain't coming at all. Well, let's get out the pry bar. Old trusty hard freight here. Let's see what happens. Just get kind of, now again it's hard to see, on top of the subframe. Find a good clean spot to pry on. Right there on the frame. Get her to come down on the front a little bit. Same on the back here. That's not even gonna move at all. That ain't good. Now we're stuck. Well, maybe a spot up there in the back here. Ooh. Yeah. She ain't moving at all. Well, might have to get out the big pry bar. We'll see. Sorry if it's a little loud. Got the heater going in here now. So I couldn't get the thing to budge, even with the big ass pry bar that I have. So I'm gonna pull this out from under here, and I'm gonna try to. I put the nuts back onto the studs, so when I pry on it, if it goes down, it'll at least get caught by that. So I'm gonna try to find a good place to pry, maybe somewhere up in there or something. I really don't know. I'm just gonna try to pry around on it and see if I can get it to come down some and see what happens. So rather than making you guys watch this 2 times, we've been working on getting the subframe out of the blue car. We started getting most of it down. It's coming out much easier than the one in the white car did. Soon enough, this will be out. We'll get the new axle swapped over to this current subframe and get all of it put on the, well, I should say, take it all off and put the new axle on this subframe and then get this bad boy put in there. Be ready to shred tomorrow. All right, she's all out now. We got to get this diff and axle into that subframe, and then that axle's going to replace this one because you spin her and the diff doesn't spin. She is sheared off somewhere in there. So get a new stock axle in there and get to ripping. It's just 6, I believe 12 mils on these, and then 2 nuts on the back here, 2 bolts on the bottom up front, and it'll be super simple. Come out really quick.
So like, I finished. It had
She's
a cracked
good, right?
headlight, so I replaced that.
Oh, yeah.
And I ran
You
it
should
like,
totally be able to do
towards
that.
the end of the day today.
All right, so there's 2 nuts right back here on the studs. Pop those loose if I can. Get those out, and then once these are out, it won't fall out because there's studs sticking through here, and there's 2 more bolts, 1 on each side down here, and then the diff will literally just fall out the bottom. So we flipped the subframe over, last 2 bolts on the bottom. See if this bad boy will get her out. All right. Pull these out, and it literally just come right out of place. Cool.
That works.
Sounds good. I'm gonna roll it back over. Bumper's pristine. Cool. So, lost a little bit of fluid there coming out the vent tube, but we'll get it moved all over in here and get this thing back in the car. So as much as I wanted to just put this in and let her eat, everybody else keeps bringing on the good ideas to take it apart and make sure everything's good, change the fluid, put a new gasket on there, because she is kind of a leaker.
Or just put
She's a gusher.
fluid in it. Start with.
Yeah,
Feels FD.
so we're gonna pop her off and see what we can figure out.
Extra son of a
So we
bitch.
got her all pulled apart, check things out. Everything actually looks pretty decent. Everyone predicted metal chunks. Spencer predicted no gasket, which he was wrong, of course. But actually looks pretty good still. So we're gonna dump the rest of the fluid out and put some new in and get a new gasket put on here and get it all put back together. All right, so we got fluid added back into it. If I remember right, it's right at like 1.91 quarts or something like that. So we just put almost 2 bottles in. We're gonna clean up the surface a little bit, put a new gasket on there, get it back together, and get it put in the subframe. Well, we got her all back in. This actually went in pretty smooth. Just impacted all the bolts up. We're gonna get a breaker bar on them here in a minute. We'll get the rotors and calipers back on here, as well as the coilover put on there nice and tight, and bleed the brakes, and we should be actually really good to go with a quick alignment. Axle nuts, can't forget about those. Drive shaft, ugh, not looking forward to drive shaft, ugh, not it. Okay, so we've got subframe in, all of the arms are bolted up, coilovers are on. So I've got a, what we call dual caliper setup in the rear. So I have a caliper, which is this one that does just, this one does your regular braking, and the Power by Max drop knuckle, or Park Shop Max, I guess, whatever they call themselves now. Not only has a drop knuckle, but has dual caliper brackets built in. It allows you to run the Z32 brakes, which is what I have, the dual piston. And it also allows you to run the factory caliper, I do believe, as well. I have separate lines ran for the dual caliper setup back here. And so what I'll have is this, essentially, with this one using the handbrake, and then this one just being your basic brake. So that way you can hit the brakes and handbrake at the same time. Not that I ever really do that, but you get the idea. It just makes it more practical and usable for anything you need. But just gonna finish getting these on, and hopefully we'll be done before we know it. Okay, so everything is bolted in, brake lines are on, brake calipers are on, everything is tight. We are going to set these adjustable arms a little bit to where it's just straight eyeballed. We're not going to worry too much about it because we're just going out for fun tomorrow. I gotta bleed the brakes. We're gonna put the seat back in. Like I said, we're just going out for fun, so nothing really matters a whole lot. So everything is going pretty good.
All right, so Austin and I have been freaking busting our ass for the last 5 hours or something, maybe probably more.
More like 7.
7, sure. No brakes. So, old subframe's out, new subframe's in, brakes are bled, everything is set, handbrake is bled. All that's left to do in the morning is tighten up the control arms, the adjustable control arms, just to make sure they don't go anywhere. Take it off jack stands, fire it up, take it for a test drive, see what happens. If all goes well, we're gonna shred the streets with our boys. So, yeah, I guess I'm gonna close the video out right there. We'll do, next week I'll be getting started on either A, pulling the transmission out to take to get rebuilt, pulling the intake off and getting the supercharger put on, or maybe a little bit of both. So tune in to the next video and we'll see what goes on.